All right, a little bit different video. I just wanted to quickly talk about someone that I greatly admire, somebody that a lot of people admire and love, and that's Bruce Lee. Bruce and his son Brandon as well. Bruce Lee, everybody knows the martial artist that he was. Many say that he was the greatest of all time, including myself. The guy trained like no other. At his size, about 5'7", 130, maybe 40 pounds, the guy could hit like a heavyweight. A regular gym punching bag was not stout enough for Bruce because Bruce would destroy one. He had to use a heavy 300-pound bag that he could just about kick to the ceiling. The guy was outstanding, trained all the time, was very, very passionate about his style of Jeet Kune Do, did not believe in traditional styles, didn't believe in conforming to any certain style. He wanted to create something different. He wanted to be himself and express himself in his fighting methods. Created Jeet Kune Do and was highly successful with it. The book that he wrote, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, is available out there. If you're not into martial arts, I still recommend you going out and getting this book, because a lot of Bruce's sayings, a lot of his philosophy, which I'm about to get into, a lot of those quotes are in the book, and I'm going to go over a few of those quotes here, so stay tuned for that. But Bruce was just an incredible, incredible person, loved by so many, still loved by so many. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being one of his students, just incredible. That tall of a man, wanting to learn the art of Jeet Kune Do. There were some movies, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which was with Shannon Lee is actually in that film. You can actually see her in that film. Also, that film, I think, was okayed by the family. This new movie that was made recently, I forget the name of it. It was so off base. Shannon and Linda both were upset about it because it didn't tell the story correctly. You don't take somebody that was a real life figure and tell his story in a way that is inaccurate. Typical Hollywood BS. Taking something and making it your own. That's what Hollywood is good at doing. And they failed miserably with this most recent movie on Bruce Lee. Brandon, let's talk about Brandon. So Bruce dies. Brandon making the movie that would really catapult his career, The Crow, my favorite movie of all time. I saw this movie actually years after it was made, and I just never got to watching it. And then finally I sat down one day quietly by myself and watched this movie, and was just completely blown away by not only the story that James O'Barr created, but the story behind the story. His life going through a tragedy led him to create this story. Just a beautiful story of true love and life after death, and putting the wrong things right. So it was a good story, great movie. Brandon, with an outstanding performance in it, was made to be that character. Was meant to be that character, and nobody could have pulled it off the way that Brandon did. He really had to train hard for that movie, lose some weight, got shredded lean. I heard Shannon talk about how he had just been dying to just eat a hamburger during the filming. Just you know, just really wanted to enjoy himself in that way. Was probably eating a lot of things he didn't necessarily want to be eating at that point, trying to get ready for that movie. But anyway, some mishaps took place on the set. Some dummy rounds were created, to my understanding. One of these dummy tips on one of these bullets that were created got lodged in a gun, was expelled from the gun and landed into the chest of Brandon, and thus killing him. Brandon was 28, I believe. Died far too young, too early. In the making of the movie that would make him, and he had signed up for, I believe, 2 more sequels to The Crow, so it would have continued on. Is it a coincidence that his father died, and then Brandon dying in such a tragic way that he did? Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. And investigators came in, did their investigation, and that's that. I think there was more to it than that. I don't know if somebody was paid off or what, but it's just too much of a coincidence. The martial arts community downed Bruce for his teaching, Westerners his arts. Chinese community didn't like him for it either. I think they saw Brandon going to the next level and becoming the big name in the world of martial arts. And I don't even know if that was really his goal. I think he just wanted to do movies, just act. The martial arts would definitely always be a part of him, but, I think that's what the martial arts community saw. They saw the writing on the wall, the son of Bruce Lee. And if you listen to Brandon in interviews, there's so much of his father's, spirit, within him. The way that Brandon would talk, very enunciated and just very much like a teacher, the same way that Bruce was. Just very methodical in the way that he would speak and in the way that he would explain things. Just so, you were really in tune with what he was saying. Bruce was the exact same way. Brandon had a way of talking, a way of explaining things, a way of expressing himself. That it was totally himself, but he got a piece of that from his father. Got to thank Shannon Lee for continuing on, with their legacy and doing the things that she has done. Some really good material out there. So many videos on YouTube, so many things that you can go and watch. Right now I want to share with you some quotes by Bruce Lee. This is directly out of his book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. So let's just go to some quotes. Let me get the book to where I can see it here. Pardon me. To see a thing uncolored by one's own personal preferences and desires is to see it in its own pristine simplicity. I'll say it again. To see a thing uncolored by one's own personal preferences and desires is to see it in its own pristine simplicity. Some pretty deep stuff. Let's move on to another one. Okay, here we go. Eliminate not clear thinking and function from your root. That's a good one. Art is never decoration, embellishment. Instead, it is work of enlightenment. Art, in other words, is a technique for acquiring liberty. Being yourself. Art calls for complete mastery of techniques developed by reflection within the soul. couple more for you. The great mistake is to anticipate the outcome of an engagement. You ought not be thinking whether it ends in victory or in defeat. Let nature take its course, and your tools will strike at the right moment. Jeet Kune Do does not beat around the bush. It does not take winding detours. It follows a straight line to the objective. Simplicity is the shortest distance between 2 points. Empty your cup so that it may be filled. Become devoid to gain totality. All right. Here we go. The effort within the mind further limits the mind, because effort implies struggle toward a goal. And when you have a goal, a purpose, an end in view, you have placed a limit on the mind. I will read this one again. Effort within the mind further limits the mind, because effort implies struggle toward a goal. And when you have a goal, a purpose, an end in view, you have placed a limit on the mind. Very, very deep, very interesting. All right, I believe that's all that I had highlighted. I challenge you to go out and get this book. It's not very expensive at all. Let's see if I can show it here. Let's see. Might be upside down. I apologize. Got this from eBay, actually. Wasn't very much at all. It's a new revised version. Very nice book. Okay. Want to thank everybody for joining in and watching this video. If you like this video, click subscribe. Click on the bell so you'll be notified of future videos. I appreciate you guys watching. And as Bruce would say, be water, my friends.